She thought she could control everyone on our street. But the day she targeted my 8-year-old twins, she unleashed a storm she could never contain. The same woman who once smiled behind her HOA clipboard now stood trembling in a courtroom, wearing an orange jumpsuit, as the judge read her sentence, 15 years to life. You might think this sounds unbelievable, but let me tell you exactly how it all happened. Before we begin, make sure to hit subscribe and tap the bell icon. We share true, emotional, and unbelievable HOA and neighborhood stories every week, stories that prove just how far people will go when power blinds them. When Laura Bennett moved into Maple Ridge Estates with her twins, Lily and Liam, she believed she was giving them the stability they'd lost after their father's sudden death. The houses were spotless, the lawns perfectly manicured, and every mailbox matched like it had been cloned. It was the kind of place that looked safe. Too safe. The first few weeks were peaceful. The kids played in the cul-de-sac, neighbors waved politely, and the community newsletter welcomed new families. But behind every smile, Laura began to sense something artificial, a layer of perfection that didn't feel real. That's when she first met Karen Moore, the HOA president. A woman with frosted blonde hair, a permanent smirk, and a voice that could slice through glass. She introduced herself while Laura was planting flowers by the porch, clutching a clipboard as if it were a weapon. Her tone was polite but sharp, reminding Laura about HOA landscaping standards. At first, Laura tried to comply. She wanted peace, not conflict. But peace was impossible in a place where control was disguised as community. The notices began, warnings about her trash can placement, her mailbox color, even the toys her children left by the fence. Each morning brought another letter, each more hostile than the last. It felt obsessive, almost personal. Then, one evening, Laura found Karen standing outside her gate, watching the twins through the fence as they played. Her eyes didn't hold kindness, only judgment. That was the first time Laura felt real unease. She didn't know it yet, but that moment marked the beginning of a nightmare that would tear through her family and the entire HOA. The next morning, a bright yellow envelope was taped to her door. HOA violation, unsafe environment for children. Laura froze as she read it. Unsafe? What could that possibly mean? But as she'd soon learn, Karen didn't need facts to destroy someone, only power and the illusion of authority. Karen's obsession deepened like a slow infection spreading through the neighborhood. She began walking her small white dog past Laura's house every hour, pretending to check on community safety. Neighbors whispered, siding quietly with Karen. She was powerful, the kind of woman who could have you fined for the color of your shutters or make sure your approval for a home repair got lost in paperwork. Then came the cameras. Small black domes appeared on light poles near Laura's yard. The HOA claimed they were for security, but they were aimed directly at her home. Laura began to feel constantly watched. She couldn't step outside without feeling Karen's eyes on her, or worse, her phone buzzing with another warning. Her twins started noticing it too. Lily asked why the lady with the dog always stared at them. Liam stopped playing outside altogether. Their laughter, once the sound of healing, grew quiet. Laura decided to fight back. She attended an HOA meeting, her first, determined to speak up. But when she entered the pristine clubhouse, the room fell silent. Karen sat at the head of the table, surrounded by her board, each wearing the same smug expression. Laura raised her concerns, but Karen twisted every word, accusing her of hostility, of being an unfit mother who created disturbances. The board took notes, nodding solemnly. By the time the meeting ended, Karen had filed an official complaint. Child welfare concern, negligent supervision. It wasn't just harassment anymore. It was an attack on Laura's identity, her motherhood. That night, Laura sat awake, watching the street through the blinds. A silver SUV idled under the streetlight for several minutes before driving off. Her phone buzzed. Another HOA message. Failure to comply may result in escalation to legal authorities. She had no idea how literal that warning would soon become. 2 weeks later, the world Laura built for her children collapsed in a single afternoon. A knock on the door startled her. 2 strangers stood outside, a woman with a badge from Child Protective Services and a uniformed police officer. They said they'd received an anonymous report of neglect. Her heart sank. She knew exactly who had made that call. The inspection was humiliating. They checked the kitchen, the bedrooms, even the children's arms for bruises. Lily and Liam clung to her legs, terrified. When the officer left, he gave Laura a sympathetic look. He'd seen this before, someone abusing the system. But policy demanded follow-ups, and that meant visits every week until the case was closed. The gossip spread instantly. Neighbors avoided her. Someone spray-painted "Bad MOM" on her fence. The twins came home crying after school, saying other kids were told their mother was in trouble. Everywhere Laura turned, Karen's influence poisoned another part of her life. Then came the breaking point. One evening, while Laura was inside cooking, the twins were in the backyard, fenced safe. But when she glanced out the window, the gate was open. Lily's small shoe lay in the grass. Panic surged through her. She bolted outside, and saw Karen's SUV at the end of the street, her twins inside, screaming behind the glass. By the time Laura reached the road, the car was already gone. The hours that followed blurred into chaos. Sirens, flashlights, police questions, everything spinning out of control. Laura couldn't breathe, couldn't think, only repeat one sentence. She took them. Karen Moore, the self-proclaimed guardian of Maple Ridge, had crossed the final line. For hours there was no trace of her car. But a local patrol unit finally spotted it, parked outside Karen's lakefront property, about 5 miles away. When police arrived, they found the twins inside her house, sitting on a couch, crying. Karen acted calm, claiming she was protecting them from an unfit home environment. Her voice was serene, but her eyes were wild, as if she truly believed her lies. The arrest happened in silence. No struggle, no remorse. She was handcuffed and taken away as the twins ran into their mother's arms, sobbing. But the damage was already done. News crews showed up. Reporters camped outside Laura's house. The story spread online. HOA president arrested for child abduction. Karen's husband, a local lawyer, launched a media defense, painting her as a misunderstood protector. Some neighbors defended her. Others stayed silent. The fight was far from over, because even in jail, Karen was manipulating from the shadows. The courthouse was packed. Cameras lined the step. Laura sat beside her attorney, her hands trembling. Across the aisle sat Karen, polished, smiling faintly, as though she were attending a social brunch. The prosecution laid out the evidence. The surveillance footage, the fabricated reports, the harassment letters, the testimonies from neighbors too afraid to speak until now. Each piece painted the portrait of a woman drunk on control, one who believed her authority made her untouchable. But it was the twins' therapist who broke the jury's hearts. She described Lily's nightmares, Liam's fear of strangers, their drawings filled with bars and locked doors. The courtroom grew still. When the verdict came, the silence was deafening. Guilty on all counts: kidnapping, child endangerment, fraudulent reporting. Laura cried quietly, holding her lawyer's hand. Karen didn't react. Not a single tear, not even surprise. She simply stared straight ahead, as though the world around her no longer existed. 2 weeks later, sentencing day arrived. The judge, a calm older woman, reviewed the evidence and spoke slowly, her voice echoing through the courtroom. Karen Moore had weaponized community authority, inflicted lasting harm on 2 innocent children, and shown no remorse. The sentence was decisive: 15 years to life in prison. Outside the courthouse, Laura held her twins close. For the first time in months, their faces looked peaceful. Life after trauma wasn't easy. The nightmares didn't vanish overnight. But with therapy, patience, and love, the wounds began to heal. The HOA dissolved. The neighborhood changed. People began questioning authority instead of obeying it blindly. Laura planted new flowers by the fence, the same spot where Karen once stood watching. This time it felt different. The air was lighter. The laughter of her children filled the yard again. She had lost so much, but she'd also gained something stronger: courage, community, and proof that even when evil hides behind polite smiles and HOA rules, truth can still win. That summer, Lily and Liam drew a picture for her. 3 stick figures, smiling, holding hands, beneath a bright blue sky. At the bottom, they'd written one word in crayon: safe. Laura framed it above the mantel, because no matter how much damage one person tried to cause, their love, a mother's love, had proven indestructible.